Hi, third graders. My name is Catherine, and today we're going to do a lesson together on Chinese folklore. Now, on your own Google Doc, you'll be able to write on directly onto the Google Doc. And anytime you see this icon, this pencil in a light blue box, that's where you should write your response. Let's get started. So, the objective of our lesson today is to read and analyze folk tales to learn more about Chinese culture. Now, let's start off by talking about some folk tales that maybe you've heard of. Have you ever heard the story of Cinderella or Little Red Riding Hood? Can you summarize one of those stories? Well, I'd like to summarize one of them for you. Here's my personal retelling of Cinderella. You can sit back and enjoy my brief summary of Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young girl named Cinderella who lived with her two evil stepsisters and evil stepmother. The stepmother would force Cinderella to do all of the housework. She had to clean up after her sisters and was not treated fairly. There was a very handsome prince, and one day the kingdom held a royal ball. Even though everyone was invited, the stepmother refused to let Cinderella go. That night, while crying, a fairy godmother appeared. She decided to help Cinderella go to the ball. With a wave of her magic wand, she turned Cinderella's tattered rags into a beautiful ball gown with shimmering glass slippers on her feet. She turned a pumpkin into a carriage and mice into horses to take her to the ball. The fairy godmother told her that at midnight the spell would be broken and everything would turn back to normal. Cinderella was overjoyed and had a wonderful time at the ball. The prince and Cinderella danced, and it was love at first sight. Cinderella soon lost track of time, and just before the clock struck midnight, she ran off. As she ran, she lost one of her glass slippers. The prince held on to the glass slipper and was determined to find the beautiful girl he had fallen in love with. He asked all the women to try on the slipper. No one matched. When he came to Cinderella's house, the stepsisters each demanded that they were the girl. Their feet were too big, and they did not want Cinderella to try on the slipper. They didn't even think she was at the ball. But of course, it fit perfectly. Cinderella and the handsome prince lived happily ever after. I wonder if your summary will be similar to mine, or if you're going to write a summary of Little Red Riding Hood. Well, throughout time, people have told stories and passed them down from generation to generation. Some of these stories are known as folk tales. Folk tales often share the values and customs of the people who told them, so what they believed and what was important to them. Folk tales are stories that have been told for a long time and that teach values, customs, traditions, or explain the origins of people and things. Values are attitudes, morals, and beliefs, and customs are traditions or cultural practices passed down from year to year. Generation is all of the people born and living at about the same time. Now, all cultures have folk tales that speak about the values and beliefs of that culture. The People's Republic of China has a rich oral history. Its history dates back more than 4,000 years. China's history can be divided into time periods or dynasties. Each dynasty was led by an emperor or a family of rulers. Today, you'll learn more about Chinese folk tales and how folk tales connect to culture. Now, I'm going to share summaries of two folk tales. Listen and tell me if these stories sound familiar to you. Ye Shen is set during the time of the Qin and Han dynasties. Ye Shen wants to go to the Spring Festival, Lunar New Year, to find a husband, but her stepmother will not allow her to go. Lan Po Po is set during the 11th century Song dynasty. In the folktale, the ginkgo nut and tree are important to the story. In China, the ginkgo represents longevity or a long life. So, do these stories sound familiar? If you said, yeah, it sounds like Cinderella and like it's got some parts of Little Red Riding Hood, then you might be onto something. Your job today is to pick one of those two folktales I just mentioned, Lan Po Po or Ye Shen, to watch and listen to. And then you're going to complete the What Do Folktales Reveal About Culture graphic organizer. So you're going to write about the story that you heard. Now, you might really, really want to listen and learn about Ye Shen, the Cinderella type story, or you might really, really want to listen to Lan Po Po, the Little Red Riding Hood story. Well, luckily for you, some of your classmates are going to read about the other story. So kind of like how a jigsaw puzzle puts all these pieces together, you'll have your piece, the story that you read and learned about, and your classmates will have the other piece, the other story, and you'll be able to share at the end and hear from each other and find out about the story that you didn't study today. So if you're choosing Lan Po Po, you're going to watch and listen to the story of Lan Po Po, and then you're going to use the information in the video to complete the graphic organizer. Now, I'm not going to play it now because you can listen to it on your own. If you chose Ye Shen, then you're going to watch and listen to the story in this video, and you're going to use that information to complete the graphic organizer. Once again, I'm going to let you do that all on your own. Now, when you've chosen, based on which folktale you've chosen, you're going to write the title up here next to where it says name of the folktale I selected. Then you're going to jot down some things that you heard in the story. What are some values and customs? Write down the characters and traits that show values and customs from your story. Here's another aspect, good behavior and how it's rewarded. That's something that's in a person's culture. Once you've listened to your story, write down some characters and traits that show good behavior and how it's rewarded. Same for admired and respected traits. Based on the characters and their traits in the story, what do you believe was admired or respected in this culture? And lastly, negative behavior and how it's punished. Think about the characters in your story that had negative behavior. Once you've written down the characters and their traits that show this aspect of culture, you're going to want to highlight evidence from the text. Finding evidence from the text is really important so that you're not just saying a claim without anything to back it up. You're proving your ideas with specific details from the story that you read, and you'll write those down in this last column. Lastly, you're going to wrap it up by writing what this folktale taught you about the values and customs of ancient Chinese people. When you've had a chance to hear from your partner or your classmates about the other story, or even before, if you're just going to write about your story, I'm going to jot down if the values and customs represented are similar or different to your values and customs. Compare it to your own life. We're really curious to see if any of these values and customs ring true for you. Lastly, you're going to do a quick write. You're going to write a short paragraph about what can be learned about beliefs or values through reading a folktale. I know that your teachers and I are really, really excited for you to have a chance to read these folktales and learn about ancient Chinese culture. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.